Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Red Skull, part of the Zemnu Build-A-Figure wave. This is not a Red Skull type of figure that we've gotten before. He's in his green jumpsuit, which I know some people love, some people don't care so much for it. It's probably the least interesting of his outfits, but this does have what is probably the best Red Skull head sculpt, say that 5 times fast, I've ever seen. I love this head sculpt a lot, and while there are definite problems with this figure, and we're going to go over all of them, there is definitely some stuff to like about it too. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 6.5 inches, which makes him pretty close to 16.5 centimeters, give or take. It's a little bit of a fudge there, but it's close enough. Now, before we get into the review, let's go ahead and do a question of the day. Which version of Red Skull do you like the most? Or you can just say which outfit. I don't know that they're all different versions. You just change his clothes, I think that's the thing. It's kind of like a stylista in that sense. But I would definitely prefer the black trench coat look, I think. But I know a lot of people like this one too, so that's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetics on this guy. It's the same body as Dormammu. In a lot of ways, it's a really good body. The clothing is sculpted well. Maybe it's a little bit excessively wrinkled to be widely used. It looks kind of strange in that sense. It's very wrinkly. So I don't know how many characters there are that are going to be wearing super wrinkly sweatshirts and pants, but hey, that's fine. We'll see what it gets used for. I think it suited Dormammu better than it suits Skull here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it has decent enough proportions. The arms are kind of long, torso's kind of small, but the legs are well done. The legs are longer here than down here. That's a good thing. There's a lot to like about it. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite sculpt ever just because of the baggy clothes, but it's probably going to be used quite a bit. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the thing that I like most about this guy is this head sculpt, which is actually the accessory head. The one that comes on him is much worse. But I really like this sculpt, and I think they did a good job with the paint on it. The wash on there looks really nice. The eyes look good. The mouth is clean. I'm very, very pleased with this. They nailed the wash. I'm hoping it's showing up on camera properly. Red is sometimes tricky with certain sensors, so hopefully that worked. But it's a nice looking figure from the head sculpt. The armband is well done. You can see the details on there nicely. It is a little bit transparent. You can see green poking through on the glossy yellow, but otherwise it's all right. They did a good enough job painting the black belt, so that's nice, and everything else is molded. So there's no shading anywhere other than the head. That's definitely a bummer, but it's a green jumpsuit, so there's not a whole lot they're really missing other than shading. I can't complain too much about that. They got the colors right for the most part. The neon green gloves are a thing. These maybe are a little bit neon, but yeah, I mean, it is, I think, good enough for what it's supposed to be. I would definitely prefer more shading and a better armband here, but it's all right. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I'm not blown away by it, obviously, because it's mostly just green plastic, but that head sculpt does go a long way. I really like that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. I already showed you this head, but we do also have the head with no lips. And the teeth are a little bit garishly painted, and the eyes are super wide, which I could live with if they weren't like pointing out to the side like Bernie Mac. But the teeth being as teethy as they are, it's a bit much. I think they could have toned down the size of the paint job on there, or just maybe the brightness. Something there. It's a lot of teeth. I mean, I know it's a skull. People are going to complain. It's a skull, of course it has teeth. Yeah, I know, but it definitely looks less menacing and more goofy. We have a bunch of hands. We have the 2 gun hands that come on in the package, 2 fist hands, 2 grippy hands, sort of grippy hands. That's nice. We do get his water gun. That's what it looks like to me, with a nice Hydra logo on it. That's cool. And then we get his ice cube. That's nice. His cosmic cube, his tesseract, his whatever you want to call it. We get that, and it's pretty well done too. So decent spread of accessories. The hands make much more sense for this guy than Dormammu. Yeah, I understand that Dormammu uses the same parts and they gave him the hands because why not, but also why? Anyway, decent enough accessories for him. I'm going to go ahead and say 9 out of 10. Good batch of accessories for Mr. Skull here, though he does have 2 trigger finger hands and only 1 gun. Definitely could have 2 guns. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head is on the double ball peg we saw before. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this again. I mentioned before how this ball peg needs to be smaller than this one. I should have been more specific and more clear in simply saying that this ball peg can stay big all at once. That's fine, but you need to have a bigger ball peg than what is in there in the lower part of the neck, because that's where all of the range of motion comes from. And as you can see here, because of how small the ball is in there, the hole itself has to be small, and you get very little range out of it. However, if you had a much bigger ball, you could have a bigger hole, and then you get more range because the ball is much bigger than the peg part. So you would get way more, I stuttered a lot there. You would get way more range out of the neck than what you're getting here. He does have a ball peg at the bottom of the neck, which is helpful, but if they had left the big ball peg at the top and then put a bigger one in the bottom also, you'd be able to move this head all over the place rather than just enough. So yeah, double ball peg is the right idea, but you have to use the right size balls. If you don't have big enough balls, it's just not going to work. Yes, I meant for it to sound that way. Okay, so the arms do come out to the side, not quite horizontal, but close enough to call it horizontal, so that's fine. Full rotation's fine, bicep swivel is fine, double jointed elbow is fine. I know people are complaining about the joints. This is a problem for the joints. Like, this has been a problem forever on the baggy sleeves. So there's not much they can do about that, because you either end up with giant cavities in the back here, or you just have to rework it entirely, and it just ends up looking weird. So I don't think that's much of a problem. More often than not, you're not going to have his hand bent completely all the way up and look at it from the side. But yeah, it definitely looks weird. There's just not a whole lot you can do about it and make it look better. It comes down to preference, more or less. Look at some of the jacketed figures. I think for baggy sleeves, a single jointed elbow is in fact better, because it looks better and you can still get better than 90 degrees. The more modern jacketed sleeves are probably the best for this, I think. Alright, so wrists have a swivel and a hinge. The gun hands do have the vertical hinge. That's a nice thing. We do have an ab crunch. It doesn't go that far back, doesn't go that far forward. It's pretty floppy. Could definitely be better. Waist twist is a waist twist. Hips go forward, but they do kick out to the side at the top. They don't go back too far. Going out to the side is pretty nice. We do have different finishes throughout. Not terribly noticeable, but these are very matte and the rest is kind of satin. Worth noting. Double jointed knees. Oh, I can't get that bottom one to work. There we go. Wow, that was stiff. That's what she said. That works well enough. Again, you got a big blocky joint because of the baggy clothes. That's just the nature of it. The only thing you can do is taper these. Taper this part and this part, the thigh and the calf, into the knee. But then you lose the squareness here. So yeah, it really just comes down to taste. You do get a boot swivel. The feet or the ankles are very tight, but they do work going back pretty far. Going forward, I can never get them to go. But with enough force, I guess I can, it's just not easy. With enough force, you can get them to go pretty far forward, that's good, and you get a decent ankle rocker. So ultimately, his articulation is unimpressive. They almost were onto something with the neck, but they didn't quite do it. And the rest of it is just your average Marvel Legends for the most part. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for the articulation. The head actually doesn't move that well, considering it's a double ball peg with nothing impeding it. Should move a lot better, so that's definitely a little bit of a bummer. Alright, so final verdict on this guy is, I guess it's fine. Red Skull's not like running around doing the most gymnastics and things, and he's wearing a green jumpsuit, and it's definitely in a green jumpsuit, and it's posable enough, so I don't think many people are going to be disappointed. I think the head sculpt really sells it, and that's pretty good. So I'm going to give it a final verdict of 8 out of 10. That's probably generous, but decent spread of accessories, and decent enough sculpt. Definitely could use more painting, but it's all decent enough with nothing that's too egregious. So yeah, I'll stick with 8 out of 10. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments section below. Alright, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, please give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and actually thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.